Hello everyone, this is Half-Baked Sims back with another full flight video. Today we are on the 737-800 by PMDG in Ryanair colors. And we are going to go from Santander, I butchered the pronunciation I know, Spain, to Dublin, Ireland. And it's a quick little flight, it's about an hour and 45 minutes, just to jaunt up the coastline of off the coastline of Spain, up the coast of France, a little bit over southern England. I think this is Wales. Again, probably butchering everything. And then we'll come into Dublin from the east. So, now that we've got the flight plan out of the way, as you can see, we are very busy here in Santander, Spain. It's going to be a pretty awesome approach. I've got it timed pretty much so that when we land, it's going to be like the golden hour. It's going to be a perfect sunset. So let's get going so we can catch that. Let's turn you on, off, get everything aligned up here. Okay, so we're cruising at 36,000 feet today. Going. Let's get fueled up. Whoop, wrong button. Whoop, wrong button again. Alright, fuel today is going to be 8,032 kilograms of jet fuel, and our payload is 58.4 on the zero fuel weight. Awesome. Let's go over to the FMC. Go to the position initialization. We are at LEX. Juliet J, there it is. Enter IRS position. What do you think I'm doing? Plane. Boom. Position. And we are going to EIDW. And our, let's see, we are Ryanair flight 5177 today. Boom. Departure. Let's see, this can be fun. There's going to be a lot of waypoints. A lot of stuff to input here. UN 864. This is one of those things where, like, sometimes I consider just downloading it and uploading it into the plane without having to punch everything in. But you have to go through and check it all anyway. And when you're checking everything, it takes about half the time that it does to just input stuff. So you might as well just not even worry about taking the time to download it, because you're going to be going through the whole flight plan anyway. Mural direct to Salco. Okay, UN 864 to BHD. UN 864. BHD. And then N26 to STU. Here come the airways that I was talking about. To STU, M17 to battery. M17 to battery. Execute, and we'll do our arrival. Why not? 28 right by the Bachelor 3. So ILS 28 right. Bachelor 3 transition to, I believe it is the, let's see, the pizza or whatever. Yeah, pizza is what it recommends. We'll do that. Hello, we will request the index. So another one of these flight videos, we're going to do some time lapses, we're going to do some cruise videos, just something to keep the, you know, this is an hour and 45-minute flight. We're going to try and keep the video under an hour if at all possible. That's what I like to do. And it just makes it easier to watch a video without having to sit through, you know, an hour of cruising with nothing really going on besides me talking to myself. And our transition altitude is 6,000 feet. This is my second attempt trying this trying this video out the first time, I caught that it was being very laggy on recording. I don't really know what that was about, but I've restarted Streamlabs, and I think we should be good to go now. Let's get our APU spooled up. While we do that, we'll set our autopilot up here. And we'll turn this to nav so we can get our stuff going. Let's see, runway heading today is 291. Yeah, this runway is very, very short. That's why you saw me do a max toga takeoff, because you can see we only get 7,600 feet of runway. This thing is tiny. I don't know how they fly real life flights out of here, but they do. This is a real life flight we're doing, by the way. This Ryanair 5177 is a real flight that just landed in real life about 10 minutes ago. And I like doing these real life flights because it gives me a goal, it gives me something to model that's not just picking, you know. So the hardest part about flight sim sometimes is just picking where the heck you want to fly. At least in my opinion. So I don't think we need lights yet. Nope, we don't need it yet. Let's get our pushback going. We plan that. So we're going to push back to the left here, or I guess tail right from that perspective. Request to push back. Let's get our parking brake set. Remove everything else because we're on the APU now. Turn that to the progress page. Let's see, our trim needs to be 5.46. So having done this flight from takeoff to cruise already, I can tell you that this will get up in the air in time. We'll have plenty of runway to get up without crashing into trees at the end of it. But it's always fun doing these short runways, especially in the bigger 737-800. Kind of makes you appreciate these massive engines this thing has.
Parking brakes are set. You may lift. Parking brake set. Lifting the aircraft.
Lifting the aircraft. I've also adjusted a lot of my audio. I know the last two videos that I've done.
Cleared for start and push.
Okay, cleared for push start.
The game has been very quiet. The music has been way too loud.
Parking brakes are released.
And the mic was too low.
Start in the sequence.
So in knowing this, I have lowered everything and put everything on a separate audio track so that when I go to... What the heck just happened? The lighting just kicked in, I think. Is this still the right time? No, it broke. There we go. So, like I said, I put everything on a separate audio track. That way, the noise can be controlled in post instead of during production. I think that's a much easier way to do it. I should have been doing that from the beginning. I wish this tug wasn't in the way so we could see the engine clearer. Look at that. So, engine 2 is almost done. Pushback's also almost done. There it is. Alright, and let's get engine 2 started. Or engine 1, sorry. And there's 24%-ish on N2. We'll introduce fuel. So once we get set up and ready to go, we will taxi out, toga this takeoff, and we should be on our way shortly. Okay, so engines are started. Let's turn on our generators here. Turn off the APU, don't need it anymore. Turn on yaw damper. window heat, probe heat, window heat, ISO valves to auto. That's all off. That's good to go. Turn on the taxi lights. Turn you to position, strobe, and steady. Come down here. We'll get our flight directors on. She's not already. LNAV, VNAV, auto throttle, auto brake set to RTO, engine, and let's get our flaps set to 5 so we can get it in the air without crashing. And let's verify our takeoff speeds. It is still kind of crazy how quick you can get this thing going. I don't know if that's just practice or what, but being able to get this thing from cold and dark to ready to taxi in, you know, under 10 minutes is kind of nuts. All right. Good on the takeoff configuration check by slamming the throttles forward, the most Boeing thing I can think of. And we are off on the taxi. Stop short, do our final takeoff preparations, and then we'll get on there and hit the toga button. Okay, parking brake. All right, so auto brake, RTO, flaps 5. This is all set correctly. We've got our air conditioning packs set. All the fuel pumps are on. Probe heats are on. Turn on the runway turn off the taxi lights. That's good to go. Let's get up. Let's go. Max takeoff thrust, please.
Airspeed's alive.
Thank you.
80 knots.
Thank you. Alright, come on.
V1. Rotate.
Rotate. Just gentle rotation. Don't have to slam the tail into the ground. There we go. Landing gear up. And we are on our way out of Santander, Spain to Dublin, Ireland. Let's get flaps 1 here. There's the D-rate climb that we're doing. There it goes. Really kicks in now. Alright, so let's get our flaps up, you down, landing brakes off as we turn here. I'm trying to do this with one hand while clicking buttons with the other. And we forgot to do our timer, of course. Alright, let's line up on our departure here. Pretty quick and easy departure out of Santander, not too bumpy or crazy besides the short takeoff, but you know, we managed. Let's get our autopilot on so we can clean everything else up. That's clean. Probably already did everything that we need to do. That's set. Make sure our cabin is pressurizing. We are. Runway turn off lights are off. And there we go. So 6,000 feet is our transition altitude today. There we go, set to standard. And I will see you guys when we get to cruise. Alright, we have reached our top of cruise, or top of climb, and we've reached cruise. So we'll be cruising for the next 380 nautical miles. It's pretty far until we hit our top of descent. So until then, enjoy some time lapses, and I will see you when we get close to our descent. All right, back in the cockpit as we descend below 10,000 feet here. You can see our approach is going to be this long, kind of lazy left turn into the ILS here. We're going to be at 7,000 feet the whole way through. I mean, we could go down and we could go in early, but I don't really see the need to do so. So our star looks like this. We got to be max 220 knots and flight level 70 all the way around until we hit pizza. That's after we get through DW 706. That's when we can actually drop our speed and our altitude. That is how the approach is run these days. So, and as I mentioned, I've flown this approach before, but I flew into a runway that didn't exist. I guess Microsoft Flight Simulator has not updated the Dublin airport to include a new runway. The 28 right is a new runway this year. So it's on charts, it's on the game. It says it's there, but there's actually no model for it. It's just a grass field, so we're gonna play it safe. We're gonna do 28 left. I don't think that's much of an issue. It's a little bit shorter of a runway, I think, than 28 right. Yeah, it's about 2,000 feet shorter. So we'll just have to use auto brake 3 and make sure that we get her down on the ground in time. But we should be good to go. So I will see you guys once we hit pizza and we start our descent into Dublin. Alright, we'll bring you back to the cockpit for the last time as we begin our descent and landing procedures into Dublin here. We're finishing up that long left turn that I was talking about, and we're coming down into the pizza waypoint, which is 3,000 above. So we've got to lose some speed, we've got to lose some altitude, and we got to do it pretty quick. So this approach is pretty normal. We're going to set our auto brake to 3 just to make sure that we get down. I found that anything below 3 on the 737-800 at least is pretty useless. I've tried 2 on 12,000 foot runways, put it down right in the touchdown zone, and still found myself almost rolling off the other side. I don't know if that's a simulation thing. I don't know if that's a real life thing. But I can't even get the thing to stop on 2. I don't even know how long you'd need to stop the plane on 1 auto brake with reversers. It really seems crazy that there's only 1 usable auto brake setting besides max. So we'll use 3. That's usually what I stick to. Let's get some... Ooh, I never turned my panel brightness up down here, which is fun. It means we couldn't see. We'll get a little bit of floodlight in so I can actually see what I'm doing. These night approaches are really fun. They're kind of tricky. You rely a lot more on your instruments, obviously, than you would on your eyes because you can't see anything. So it helps you really get used to what you're supposed to be looking at on your instrument panel more than your eyes. Especially when it comes to ILS approaches, you can't rely on the runway to see the end of it. So as we come down, let's make sure all our lights are good. Got our logo on. Oh, I'm turning things off, I think. Yep. Make sure that stuff's all on as we come down to land. Taxi lights off, obviously that's still off. Runway turn off, landing lights are on. Auto brake to set to 3. I might set the speed brake now. I don't know yet. We'll wait on that. I hear the engine's spooling up a bit. They're trying to keep us up at 220. Let's knock it down to 210. We don't have to overstress those. We'll get flaps 1 out. We still haven't picked up the ILS here because it's not the right one because we switched runways. It's 111.35 now. 35, there we go. So 111.35 at a course of 278 is still correct. So we're just waiting to pick up the ILS. We are 15 miles out. Yeah, you can see it. The DME has picked us up. We're 15 miles out, so we should be getting that. We should be getting our ILS frequency and our lineup pretty quick here. Once we get that, we'll probably drop down to 180. We'll drop down to 200 now. My dog is here. Hello, sir. Can you leave while I land my plane, and I'll come pet you in a second. There we go. All right, landing checklist complete. Last item was getting the dog off of the foot pedals. He's now licking me. Hello, sir. Yes, you're very cute. You can see Dublin there. Our runway is somewhere off behind those clouds. How about that approach too? Just so incredible what this game can look like. Like it's really tough to try and compete against Microsoft Flight Simulator right now. I think that's why you're seeing such a mass exodus from P3D and X-Plane for developers, at least. Is obviously the sales are there, and with the game being on Game Pass, there's a lot more people playing Microsoft Flight Simulator than the other two. But just, I mean, the game is, at this point, it's so far ahead of anything else. Like, X-Plane 12 might have more aircraft, it might have better aircraft modeling, but when you're just trying to take pretty pictures and videos of flight simming, there's not really a question of which you should be flying. I do wish that I had more planes in this game, though. I think that that's obviously something that X-Plane has right now, because they are able to port over every plane model at some point from X-Plane 11 to X-Plane 12. Being able to do that is going to be beneficial for them, because they don't have to wait on the planes to develop like Microsoft Flight Simulator has. I talked about it in their last video, but that 6-month stretch where the only high-fidelity airliner available was the freeware fly-by-wire E320, that was kind of the dark ages for us. We didn't really have any options for any kind of realistic flight in an airliner. But enough about that. We are 9.8 miles out. Not quite ready to drop the gear. Let's see, so we're referencing, let's see, we're 150. I think our landing speed is 145. That's right. So let's get to 150. Oh, geez, that was an over scroll. But there's 150. Once we hit about 8 miles, I'll drop. Actually, we'll just do it now so we can get fully set up. Speed brake armed, anti-skid on. Speed brake is to 3. Our flaps are to 30. And we are set to 150 on the indicated airspeed. You still haven't picked up our ILS yet. There's the localizer. There's the glide slope. Wow, that's crazy. 7 miles, 7.5 miles until you pick up the ILS, the glide slope at least. So we'll let it bring us down to about, I don't know, about 1500 above. It doesn't seem to be too windy, but up here with 42 knots of wind, I'm not trying to mess with it. And there's always a slight moment when my heart stops when I'm watching the vertical speed bar and our altitude, where we have our altitude set to, where, you know, it hits that point. Will it keep dropping, or will we, you know, level out, and then I'll have to take over manually? That's what happened to that A320 in our video on Monday, I think, or Tuesday. Is it just didn't want to descend past the altitude hold. It did not like it. You can see how, yeah, you can see how we're crabbing here. It's actually kind of wild to watch. It's a good 10 degree. Can't really tell from the windows. That's always the thing I've wondered, is like how many landings have I been a part of that were like this, where it's almost a crosswind and you've got to crab it in, but you don't notice when you're in the cabin, because to you, your only frame of reference is, you know, out one window. You can't see forward. All you can see is the ground going past you. So unless you're very, very observant, you won't really notice that you're flying sideways. Go down to 1,500 feet. Yep, there you can see there's runway 28 left, and then the other runway's here, but there is no 28 right, because this is where it should be, right here. This is where I landed the other day when I was trying this flight out at night. I came in and I was like, okay, there was rain, like I get that, but you know, I hit my minimum and there was no runway and I had to go around, and as I was flying over I looked down and sure enough there was just a grass field there. And I had to come all the way back around and do 28 left, because if I'd landed it just would have been grass. There would have been no runway to land on. This is one rough approach. I'm going to let it just take us all the way in pretty much. You can see it's really fighting those crosswinds right now. It's really having trouble staying on center line. Which means I would really have trouble staying on center line. Alright. Okay, it's time. There it is. Immediately kicks us out to the right. Whew! Look at that. Still 15 knots crosswind. Man, this airport is terrible. There's no runway lights. I have no idea where the runway is. Alright, let's get out the power. Come on, touchdown. There we go. Just a little off center, but we're fine. Let's get our reversers up. Yeah, this is not a very good default airport for being an international airport. I still hate that glitch. I don't know if anyone else notices this, but the landing lights only really work if you are holding your right mouse button for some weird reason. Yeah, let's get the reversers out. Let's turn off here. So you better have some good night vision, otherwise you're going to be able to see. But I still think that with a horrible runway and a crazy crosswind and the fact that I can't see anything, we did pretty well there. Let's turn our taxi light on. Let's get our APU started. Turn off the landing lights. Turn off the runway lights. And let's taxi into the terminal here. So pretty long taxi coming up, but see, clean up everything else. We're good to go. Yeah, there is not a single light on that runway. There's lots of lights on the taxiway. Make sure we stop that. Yeah, about an hour 48 on the time. Give or take a couple minutes, because I forgot to punch it in right after. Put it in about 5,000 feet off the ground. But yeah, not too shabby. Pretty easy flight. Really, really pretty flight. Not something I've thought about flying before, but I'll definitely think about flying it again as we drive through lights that are floating off of the road. Alright, there's the terminal. We'll probably just park up next to our friend over here. See if we can manage to line up on the gate. No lights. Here we go. There's a line. There's the end of the line. This is one of those Bluetooth jetways. Okay. Well, I I guess we know what airport is not a high-fidelity airport in Microsoft Flight Simulator. That would be Dublin. This airport sucks. Let's get those off. Come down here. Let's get the chalk set. Oops, set. Ground power, request it. We're on APU power. We should be. Oops, there we go. Turn the packs on, turn those on, turn this stuff off. Turn on the ground power. Turn off the APU. Turn off all our lights. And position goes to steady. Alright. Well, once again, if you guys liked and enjoyed the flight, please don't forget to like the video, subscribe, comment with what you want me to fly next. I'm going to try and do these a little more often. I'd really like to take some comments, suggestions from people on what they think we should fly. So, until next time.